Girls who did beauty pageants when you were kids. Did you like it? Do you think it's creepy and weird in retrospect? I liked it for the attention, especially for being considered prettier than my sister. I think it's creepy as frick now. I'm prettier, and these 5 judges can prove it. Years later you realize maybe to not put too much stock in the opinions of those who choose to judge children by their looks. From a really rural area, so only ever participated in small local pageants. I never wanted to do them, was signed up by my mom. The whole pageant culture is kind of messed up. Parading young girls on stage to be judged by their looks. IDK. I won the Queen pageant, local, when I was 16. Have a big trophy, tiara and a sash. Honestly it seems worthless to me. I don't feel like I earned an award. I was just given something saying I was judged pretty by adult men and women. I think it fosters the wrong kind of competition between girls and promotes the attitude that being a pretty object is what counts most. I did pageants when I was little. I really liked it. Not because I loved getting dressed up but because I'm super competitive. Also, I love trophies. Still do. Another bonus was riding in my small hometown's parade and making the front page of the newspaper when I won. I liked it. I don't remember it being creepy, but I stopped when I was about 8 after trying to go on Star Search. After that I went the music route and tried out for the Mickey Mouse Club. My parents didn't want to move though and my dad wasn't bothered by the makeup when I was little but by 8 it was starting to bother him. Moreover I lost interest. It was too much work and too much time off of school. I missed my friends and decided it would be cooler to start a punk band. It was. I used to want to audition for MMC when I was a teen too. This was the last big casting year with Britney and Justin et al. And I definitely would not have made it, but it would have been a fun experience. On the Worst Ever podcast, a couple of former Mouseketeers told their audition stories from that time, and they were very interesting. Some of them were former pageant kids too. I loved it even though it was more about my stepskank than it was me. I was her project until about 11 years old. I was like the poster child for what you wanted your beauty pageant child to look like. I loved dresses, makeup, and showing off. I had gorgeous long blonde hair. I loved winning and I did most of the time. I would say it wasn't as flashy as it is today. I think it was very different 30 years ago versus now. Not creepy or anything to me, or at least I was shielded if it was. My brothers did it also though not as much. My daughter has never been in one. It just seems like a complete waste of money and time. And you wouldn't catch me in a dress now. Not a girl but I actually did 3 beauty pageants when I was about 5 or 6 years old. I took first place in every single one of them because there were no other boys in my age group. Each time, I got to take home a crown and giant trophy and I felt like a freaking king. Haha. Same dude. I won because I was hot though. I did one once, in my junior year in high school. I had a very long ugly duckling phase, which wasn't helped by my XXL hoodies and center part. It helped me feel like a pretty feminine girl, something I had desperately wanted to be for years. My mother did not understand it and was not a fan of pageants, but decided that if that was what I wanted to do, she would help me. She took me to classes to learn how to walk and talk and perform my talent in the right ways for the pageant. All was going well. Then, the night before the pageant, I got into a sword fight. PVC pipe covered by pool noodle, and the sword broke across my face and gave me a huge gash under my eye. It was bad. Even with makeup, my eye was swollen almost shut, so it was very obvious. Needless to say, that was the end of my pageant career. TLDR. Signed up for a pageant to feel more feminine. Things were going well. Got into a sword fight the night before and got a huge cut under one eye. Did not win pageant. Had a great time. 10/10 would do again. I was in one when I was 3. I'd been in a wedding that year so I had a ridiculously fancy dress and my mom thought it would be fun to put me in the local pageant. My mom said the minute she got me backstage she knew she made a mistake. The amount of women slathering full face makeup on toddlers and little girls was appalling. And just the general rudeness and disdain with which they treated my mother and I was awful. And this wasn't some big time pageant. This was a small town, Founders Day kind of pageant. All I remember is getting to sit on top of my grandparents' car with my shiny trophy because I won Miss Congeniality. I competed in my high school pageants and won in our senior division. I never went past it because I didn't want to, but I enjoyed competing because I was, and still am, competitive, and I loved getting to wear a fancy dress once a year as a kid. My sister competed as well. My parents were supportive, but never forced us to compete. My parents let us pick out our own dresses within a budget. Plus, I got to spend time with my grandma, rest her soul, because she was a cosmetologist and did our hair and makeup for us. It was just fun because I got to dress up. I never expected to win, and was later told that our judges, all hometown friends and teachers, chose me because out of all the kids competing, I was the only person who looked like they were having a good time. Professional pageants are okay, I guess, as long as there's a talent portion, so there's more to winning than looks. Big pageants near me offered scholarships to college-age participants, for example, but I never had an interest in competing at that level. Baby kid pageants creep me out though. I only have vague memories, but I remember getting to pick new clothes with themes. There was a soccer outfit, a swimsuit outfit, and a fluffy dress. Then we went to a big metal building and a man that was too nice took a bunch of pictures of me posing with fake little sets. I remember wanting to play with the beach stuff and being told no and then getting mad I had to wear the dumb dress. I didn't remember any of it until I found some of the old pictures in the garage. I asked my mom what had happened and she said it had all been a big scam. She spent a ton of money on this new modeling agency for kids so I could be on some TV pageant and, ideally, eventually commercials and TV. But the company up and disappeared a few months later, never to be heard of again, and my mom took that as a sign and never signed me up for anything like it again. I did pageants as a kid and I loved it. Felt like a princess. However, I will say they're extremely rigged most of the time, and no matter the amount of effort or how cute your kid is, they most likely won't win. A girl that looked and most likely was much older than us ended up winning the pageant. Clearly set up. I won every one I went to. I went to around 3 of them. I'm a guy BTW and I went a guy once. I was a hot stud even when I was a wee little lad. I grew up in small town in Alabama, so I did a couple of local pageants. I did them from when I was toddler to about 5 or 6. I don't remember the ones from when I was toddler, but I know my mom always had a problem with it. Grandma was my primary caretaker and she was obsessed with pageants. It was a way for her to show me off. My mom didn't like it because it slowed down my development. I wasn't potty trained till 4 because the pageant took priority. With that being said, I did love it. I loved getting dressed up and I loved the attention. That being said, it's so freaking creepy in retrospect. We'd literally get inspected backstage by both men and women before we went on stage. Most of the time it was innocent, as can be, but a couple times it got weird. One older lady claimed she needed to inspect my legs, which resulted in my dress being lifted up and her touching me. There was a man at one pageant who used to smack our butts before we went out. Honestly, it was pretty fricked up. I loved it. My poor mother though used to get disgusting looks and comments about how it was so cruel you curl your daughter's hair for these events, despite having the hair naturally. This was all in Australia, so it was never as intense as America. I was in one pageant when I was around 11. It was pretty fun when it was just all of us girls hanging out and practicing our walks and speeches and stuff. But the parents were insane, and the second they came around it was heck. I'm talking stuff like not letting their kid drink water so they wouldn't be too bloated for their dress, screaming at other girls for trying to have conversations because they were surely trying to steal their precious daughter's techniques and makeup style, stuff like that. I did it once for the experience and made a lot of good friends, but the moms living vicariously through the kids made me never do it again. It sure was fun sitting with my mom and bonding over making fun of the insane parents though. I did National American Miss once in middle school, and it'll always be the only pageant I will ever do. Was it the worst experience? No, but I felt like they were trying to make us fit a standard to be an ideal person, which I didn't like then and I don't like now. A lot of people also just seemed so fake, and it seemed like parents were feeding their kids the right thing to say. It's safe to say I've always found it weird. I did. It was my choice and I wish I could have continued to do it, but it was too expensive. It was fun, relatively easy, and I got to win money, which was cool. Beauty pageants are different now than they were when I was a little girl. Today the girls are done up like runway models and wearing adult style clothes. When I was in pageantry I wore ruffle butt bloomers under a Shirley Temple dress, and white patent leather shoes with ruffle socks. My hair was done in curls and no makeup. I won several times. It wasn't creepy back then because the little girls were not sexualized like they are now. At least not the contests my mother enrolled me into. They were fun and I got to wear pretty clothes. There was no pressure and the other mothers were not cutthroat yet. I only have good memories of my time in pageants. Really wasn't much competitiveness going on. This explains where they came from. I have only ever seen the John Bennett Razzies style sexualized ones and have been creeped out. I never understood why they would allow something clearly encouraging pedophiles. Yes, very creepy and weird in retrospect. That being said, I was raised Catholic and also find First Communion dresses creepy and weird in retrospect. We all agree that as a kid, our memories doesn't really stay much with us. But I remember all the feelings and excitement I felt when I entered one when I was 5. I was a little fairy and I had wings and a wand, and a dress so sparkly my eyes were goblined. My mom was the one who decorated them and she put a pack of glitters into the wand so that it sprinkles dusts of glitters when I shake them. I remember how I felt when I watched my mom working on my costume. How it felt when I put on the wings. How it felt when I do little gesture of pointing with my wand and see how the glitters fall out of it. Since I grew up in a country that doesn't celebrate Halloween, it was really fun. I think kids pageant should be fun when the parents and the kid had fun preparing for it. But we humans are so distorted that we can change beautiful things into creepy. That's just sad. Peas. I won first prize in the end. But I had, on the contrary, no recollection of that memory. I had fun, it wasn't creepy even looking back on it. Plus I won best picture. I honestly had a good time. I think because it was in SF it wasn't so hardcore, no girl was really that dolled up. I only did it once, made some friends, and made me feel pretty. I did them for a couple years. I thought they would be fun. We were told when we signed up that it was low-key, just for fun, etc. We bought inexpensive, modest outfits, showed up and the other girls were in ultra expensive, wedding gown tear of fancy. I felt like an idiot. Next pageant rolls around and we're better prepared. Only we didn't take out enough for space or donate enough or get enough sponsors. Guess who won? The girls who had rich sponsors and or families. They were not the most talented. They were not that pretty. They were not that congenial. Maybe other pageants are different, but small town rural pageants are by your way to winning bulls. Small town bulls is always the same lol. My sister's friend constantly won the local pageant, not because she looked the best or performed well, but because she was related to the judges. I didn't like them. They made me uncomfortable. Girls were mean, moms were worse. But it was the only time I felt any value with my mom. The only time she ever told me she was proud of me or loved me. So they became sort of oddly important to me and I did well. I competed every week or two for a few years and never lost. When I turned 17/18, I was over it all. My mom was always trying to pressure or bribe me into competing. On my 18th, I chopped off all of my hair and pierced my face. Problem solved. I won a lot of pageants around John Bennett time and before the airbrush fake looking kid scene. Started when I was 2 and went on quite a while and I liked it, but it got tiring and after John Bennett was murdered and they thought it was related to pageants I stopped. I let my daughter do a casual one just to try it, but it's become more of a pay to win thing. I did pageants up until I was only 5, so it's a limited perspective. My mom entered me in them. I even won quite a few big things and went to Hawaii for some competition when I was 5. It was ridiculously fun and I made a ton of friends, saw different cultures, learned a whole lot. I never felt like I was pretty like the other girls. I didn't really have a cool talent and I really didn't like the attention, but everyone else there treated me as an equal. My mom never pushed me to do anything out of my comfort zone and she was just there to have fun with it too. I think it all depends on the parents' attitude with kid pageants tbh. I did them when I was really young but don't remember them at all. My mom remembers though. She says when we started she thought it was just a fun thing to do and a good way for parents to spend time with their kids and show them off in cute outfits. We did a few of them before my mom realized how intense the other parents were. She realized it wasn't just a fun and games thing, asked me if I wanted to continue. Apparently I didn't care either way, so we quit. The only thing I remember is my mom's friend holding me down in the bathroom while my mom forced the mascara onto my eyelashes. I was 4 years old. I went on stage, crying, and the judges felt bad for me and gave me a trophy and tiara. I still have them. I loved it. I was a little crap who loved attention and it made me feel good to have people adore me. Looking back now, I ignored a lot of the bad. The way I got punched in the head to sit still so they could do my hair and makeup. The way I was pinched to stop from acting out and crying the makeup off. Not being allowed to eat until the very end of the pageant when I won. Because adults were scared if I appeared bloated during the pageant. It's really mentally damaging and it's caused me to be obsessed with perfection as an adult now. I know 2 women. A co-worker who won't stop talking about how great she looked. She is still okay, and I don't think she ever wanted to stop. Second is a neighbor who was pushed into it by her grandma. Grandma claims it's a genetic contribution. Grandma has always looked like a sack of potatoes, and insisted they heavily push for this. They acted like it was their way to big money. Girl was enrolled in hobbies to pad her beauty contests. Each level required more entry costs. I'm not sure what they thought it would do for them. It just seems like a racket. I don't think it even helps for college, and she didn't get rich from it. Girl does it to make grandma happy, but I am not sure she truly liked it. She liked her karate better. I did pageants a lot as a child, and I had a ton of fun. I grew up on a farm and my friends weren't particularly girly, but I wanted to get dressed up and put on makeup. When I told my mom I wanted to enter a county fair pageant, she helped me. We bonded a lot during those pageants, because it was our time for just the 2 of us. I liked it for the memories, friends, and road trips. In retrospect it does seem a bit creepy. A few judges pick out who has the prettiest daughter that looks like she knows what she's doing on stage. I only did them because my sister did them and I wanted to be just like my big sister. I liked it at the time. My sister quit doing them because I always placed higher than her, and I quit because she quit. Looking back it wasn't creepy or anything, probably because I wasn't forced into it. So judging by this thread, people who never done any pageants hate it and think they're pedophile den, and people who've done it seem to like it and appreciate it. Interesting. I did a few when I was about 5/6 and it was fun. I got to dress up and twirl around. It wasn't as weird then. They didn't put makeup on me like a circus clown and they actually let the kids be kids. Not me, but my mom did pageants when she was a kid. She says it was never for the competition or attention, but because it got her into other hobbies, like making costumes and learning new talents, which she got to do with her mom and sister. She stopped when she got to the shoe where it became a shallow popularity contest. I did one when I was a kid and I barely remember it because my mum, who was a beautician, decided she wanted to test out some new hair gel that gave your hair some color on me. She liked to toy around with hairdressing and always cut my hair and such. Anyway, she bleached my hair on the day of the event and when we were done, my hair was Ronald McDonald orange. It was way too late to fix it, so it's how I ended up looking. My only memory of it is that freaking crap and that I cried all the way to the pageant because I was so embarrassed and didn't want to be seen in public looking like a freaking clown. I liked it. It was a touch weird seeing a lot of girls my age and younger getting extreme makeup put on their face sometimes. It, however, was so worth the money for my family. The school year before the pageant I would cry if a teacher called on me and couldn't make friends. Simply too shy and scared. School year after, couldn't shut me up. I was still awkward, but at least I could talk to people. My ex did them and is still a fan of them. Honestly, I found them odd, but she got a ton of scholarship money from it, so like crap, sign me up. I liked it because I was really good at it. I was Little Miss California and Junior Miss California. As a kid, I was not really competitive. I would cry if my friends didn't win one of the trophies. I enjoyed singing and getting positive affirmation. I never got a creepy cone from it. I have a 1-year-old daughter and I would never in a million years let her do one, but I can't really say it had a negative impact on me. I just don't like the idea of her being judged for superficial traits. My sister did a beauty pageant as a kid. She was in the 8-10-year-old range. It was a few years ago now. She had done ballet since she was 3 years old and was getting bored of it. Doing a pageant was meant to be a trial run, just to say she tried it. In the same time frame, she also tried out cheerleading, ballroom dance, and junior roller derby. She hated the pageant the most of all of them. The few other girls that she talked to were a mixed bag. Some were nice, some were catty, some just flatly ignored her. My sister didn't mind too much. We're all awkward as frick in my family, so social interaction wasn't the highest on my sister's priority list. The judges, as I recall from a spectator's perspective, were all odd, like they grabbed the most not quite a pedo or other type of people that they could, painted them orange, and sat them in a room with around 108 10-year-old girls. My sister was not a fan, and the feeling was mutual. Whatever her feelings on the other contestants and the judges, my sister hated the parents that were backstage the most. She said one lady actually knocked her over when she was standing around waiting to go on stage. Another lady had a meltdown because she couldn't get the hairspray to keep her daughter's curly hair in a tight bun. One girl's aunt and mother kept arguing loudly in Spanish, and you could almost hear it from the stage. She finished that day in 15th, and never looks back except in horror. Did any of you have one of those super flamboyantly gay dudes show you how you were supposed to walk? Cause that is hilarious. Pedophile here. For the record, I find it creepy as crap. Kids shouldn't be preyed upon, whether it's by us or that disgusting industry. Personally, I'd never subject my kid to any kind of these pageants. Feel like a pedophile's wet dream emo, and they kill the kid's self-esteem and self-worth as they get older. I did some forced by my dad. It was traumatic. My talent for the competition was to recite poetry. My dad used to beat me up until I memorized the stupid poems. I have no freaking clue why he made me do them, since we were poor AF and he had to buy me dresses and drive me places. I've dealt with social anxiety to this day and I absolutely abhor being the center of attention. True story. I did them and I'm a guy. I loved it because I would get a ton of attention. Looking back on it, it doesn't seem creepy at all. Just my parents realizing how hot I was before I could do anything about it. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.